Hey y'all, welcome in. I just got back from the Oklahoma City Land Run, hosted by Red Dirt Games at Games HQ in Oklahoma City. What an absolute fantastic event. I met some wonderful people, had a hell of a time playing Paper Magic, 101 players for Proxy Legal Vintage Magic. We had an absolute blast. Thanks again to Justin Gennari for signing my Paradoxical Outcomes. Maybe Joel will be playable again one day and I can actually sleeve these things up. I did also get to live the absolute dream, channeling an Emerald into play. I've been wanting to do this in paper for forever, had only been able to do it on Arena previously. And that was all made possible by this crazy deck list. So we can kind of get into it. I've been having a weird time playing Magic this year. Haven't really felt comfortable with anything that I've really been playing. I played some of the shops lists. I played tried to relive the Goblin's Dream from last year, and nothing's really clicked without 4 Sagas and Name Sticker Goblin. I'm still upset with that, Wizards. Please give us Name Sticker back. I am begging you. So I wanted to go a little bit of a different route and still kind of play what I thought would be an aggressive deck and a Cavern of Souls deck and kind of beat up on the combo, beat up on the control deck. Frog has been killing me in the locals. I just hate that matchup so much. I didn't want to deal with Daze. I didn't want to deal with Force of Will. So I went with Cavern of Souls, naming Eldrazi this time around. And the deck that I registered ended up not really being the deck that I thought I was playing. And that's kind of a meta sense, not a realistic. I knew there was 61 cards in my deck. So I was looking to play kind of an aggressive deck with Reality Smashers and Thought-Knot Seers and play aggressive things early and steamroll. But this list turned out to be very proactive with the Sowing Mycospawns, the Battle Mages, and the Thieves of Existence, and also Kozilek's Command. Hell of a card. We'll get into that later, believe me. I have many things to go over about this card. But especially with Sowing Mycospawn, this is not an aggressive card. Sure, you can play it on turn 1 to ramp, but that doesn't really get you anywhere. You really want to be prioritizing it to grab a Wasteland, grab a Strip Mine. Kind of like you can grab an Eye of Ugin, but you're opening yourself up to the opponent's Wastelands, especially in this meta right now. So I really found myself being stuck on game 1s. And we can kind of take a look at the matchups real quick that I played. I played against some Dimir Scam, some Izzet. This was the Vivi deck, the Vivi Breach deck. Some Dimir Tinker, Beseech Storm, Colorless Dredge. That was the non-combo version of Dredge. Lot of players playing combo. One of our players from Romancing the Stones made the semifinals with the combo Dredge list. Absolute wonderful deck. I love that build. Played against the Mono Blue Paradoxical Outcome. That was the shops. That was Jewel shops. And then Oath of Druids in the final round. But definitely not what I was expecting to kind of play against. I was looking to, play the Frog matchup, play the Paradoxical Outcome, Lurrus matchup, play Mono White Initiative. And those were all sticking around the top tables. Right after I lost to Dimir Scam, I kind of had a feeling that I wouldn't end up seeing those the rest of the day, and unfortunately was proven right. Well, maybe unfortunately. I still had some decent wins. Sideboard-wise, I wanted to play a very kind of focused sideboard plan. I tend to do this when I play aggressive creature-based decks. I like to just have one dedicated card for each matchup, bring in those copies, take out the worst cards in the matchup. And so I decided on going with 3 No Rods, the Dismember Spatial Contortion Split, because I couldn't find my Dismembers, and we were only allowed to proxy reserveless cards. The Leyline of the Voids for the graveyard matchups, and then Mindbreak Traps for those mostly came in only on the draw. So game 2 situations in some case, game 3 situations in some case, but I would only bring those in to really stop an aggressive start from Storm or from Jewel Shops. I think I might have brought them in against the Dimir Tinker deck that I played as well. But that was my thinking as far as sideboarding. Now, the cards I ended up taking out kind of surprised me. Most of the time I was pulling Fleshraker out of the main 61 because it's really not great on its own. Sensei's Top and the the aggro shops list really supply a lot of gas to get the Fleshraker going, and my deck really can't do that. It has Kozilek's Command and it has Mystic Forge as well, but otherwise it doesn't really have anything to really take advantage of the Fleshraker. That being said, I did have a glorious combo turn against Oath in my final round where I was able to chain 3 Kozilek's Commands into a Mystic Forge and combo kill my opponent after they had Atraxa time walked and hit me down to 17, or hit me 4-7 down to 14. It was... But anyways, Fleshraker came out the most out of any card in my list. Against Dredge, Thief of Existence came out because there is literally no target in their deck besides, I believe that list was running Chalice of the Void, but not every list is, especially the combo decks aren't running Chalice of the Void anymore, to my knowledge. Thought-Knot Seer pulled a lot of weight in this. It's really the only aggressive drop in this deck. I had 4 or 5 games where I played it on turn 1, took an important card away from an opponent, and was able to kind of snowball off of that. But I have some games in specific that I wanted to go into because there was some sequencing and some weird plays that came up that I kind of punted on or really messed up. And so we'll kind of go into those now. First off, I wanted to take a look at this Is It Vivi deck. Specifically, we had game 2 and finding out that Kozilek's Command is a very complicated Magic card to pilot. I had no idea how often that the non-scry draw part of this card would come up, and its versatility really surprised me in ways that I wish I had seen at the time. So I kind of have this set up on Moxfield to kind of show you what was going on in the situation. My turn 2, I had played a Battlescape Mage and targeted their Black Lotus just to try to force it off the board. I know they could crack it in response. They turned around and played an Emery on their second turn. I draw a Kozilek's Command, and I didn't just playing a land, swinging in, and passing. So the first mistake I made on this turn was I should have used Kozilek's Command to exile the Emery and scry draw on my own turn while it was still summoning sick. The second punt was I allowed them to untap and use the ability targeting the Black Lotus. When this happened, I should have stopped and used the Kozilek's Command to scry draw and exile the Black Lotus from the yard. The third mistake I made was after allowing this, they got to crack their Black Lotus, cast a stock up, drew into a couple Moxen, cast a Planosphere, and on end step, I Kozilek's Command and I overcompensated. I exiled the Emery and I exiled the Lotus. I did not scry. For the rest of that game, I completely bricked, and my opponent beat me down with the Planosphere, which was really unfortunate, seeing as Kozilek's Command can actually kill the Planosphere for 0. I ended up doing that in game 1, casting a 2-mana Kozilek's Command off of an Ancient Tomb to exile the Planosphere creature and draw a card. Very, very nifty. So not something that I kind of realized that I could do when I was testing. But it ended up being fantastic in that sense. I really feel like that if I had done this correctly, I could have snowballed an advantage, could have kept my opponent still locked off of anything going on, because he wasn't able to cast the stock up. He didn't have another land drop or a mana source after these 2 lands. So he would not have been able to kind of snowball in the way that he did. And I really felt like game 3 on the draw, I could have gotten up on him and maybe turned that match around. Round 4 against Beseech Storm. This was game 2, my only loss in that time. Game 1, we kind of brutalized with Thought-Knot Seer into Myco Spawn into Reality Smasher. The most aggressive hand that we could have possibly had in that matchup, and just really beat down hard. So this was game 2. The situation in this case was I had the Myco Spawn on my, I believe this was turn 3. I had the Myco Spawn, the Battlescape Mage, and the Wasteland in hand. My opponent at the time had Island, Emerald, Bayou. They'd been casting some stock ups, kind of looking at their top cards. I felt pretty confident at where I was at as far as the creatures in my hand. My opponent had to mulligan pretty far that game, so I really felt ahead even with them stocking up. And I chose on my turn 2. This was turn 2. I chose on turn 2 to cast the Sowing Myco Spawn and to fetch a Wasteland from my library and kill the Bayou to take them off of black, because I knew that they had a Yogg-Will in hand that they had tutored for off of Mystic. What I didn't realize is that they had a Tinker in their hand. And so they untapped, they played a land, tinkered away the Mox Emerald for Bolas the Citadel, and stormed off the top to kill me. So in this instance, I should have prioritized kicking the Wastegate Battle Mage, and exiling the Mox Emerald. This would have prevented me from getting the Tinker, Citadel killed, and it ended up not mattering because we went into game 3. I kept a 7 with 2 Mindbreak Traps and a Reality Smasher. Opponent went for an aggressive turn 1 Citadel that I was able to get rid of with the Mindbreak Trap, and we steamrolled from there, and it ended up being a very convincing win over that deck. The final game that I kind of wanted to talk about here is the round 7 against Oath of Druids, which was a very strange matchup. In game 1, I had to let on a Thought-Knot Seer, got a Mystic Forge down, got a Flesh Raker, and then my opponent was able to get an Oath, get an Atraxa into play, and Time Walk. They were able to hit me down to 14, go up to 27. It was not looking good for the home team. However, I had a Kozilek's Command in hand and was able to resolve a Kozilek's Command for 2 off of Eye of Ugin, I believe, and 2 spawn tokens. That drew me into another K command, which drew me into a third K command, which set 4 Moxen on the top of my deck. And I was able to spiral that and kill my opponent just from Fleshraker ETB triggers. It was really kind of an incredible hand, incredible play that really shows the power of Kozilek's Command. I definitely want to try to build another deck focused heavier on that card. In game 2, they ended up getting me with Show and Tell. And it became very clear to me that none of my creatures are really good in this matchup except for the Thought-Knot. And even then, it's only really taking cards. It's not taking the cards that they're showing and telling, of course, because those are already going into play. So it's not really doing that much, except, like, I have the Emrakul on the list, and that's about the only good creature I can show and tell in. So in game 3, I end up keeping this 6-card hand, and my initial thought is, I'm going to keep it, I'm going to Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, crack it, and try to put the Trinisphere in play. The Trinisphere ended up getting forced, and I never drew a green mana to cast the Battle Mage with the kicker, or to cast the Sowing Myco Spawn with the kicker. In hindsight, I think the correct line to take would be to play out the Ancient Tomb, play out the Petal, and then hold for turn 2. Turn 2, play out the Wasteland, and cast the Mycospawn, going and fetching a Cavern of Souls. So that even if they force this creature, I'm still getting that cast trigger to get my Cavern, to allow me to eventually kick a Battle Mage, which can bounce the Atraxa back to hand. It's one of my best cards in the matchup if I can get the blue mana out. This leaves me with the Trinisphere in hand, so that if they show and tell, I am then locking them down and preventing them from being able to drop artifacts that they find off of Atraxa, being able to time walk after the Atraxa. It, I think, is really the more important card to hold, which is very counterintuitive. Overall, I'm very happy with the choice of deck. I think it was a good call on the meta, even though I didn't really play any of the decks that I thought I would be playing against. And the deck, when it clicked, it really clicked. Multiple games in a row where I'm drawing Ancient Tomb into Mana Crypt, Ancient Tomb into Soul Ring, deploying a big threat, playing down my restrictive hate pieces, and really kind of just taking over the game very quickly. The deck was very good at having Wastelands. Yavimaya to fix mana coming off of the Sowing Mycospawn was great. The only real thing that I would take out of this deck if I were to run it back would be, unfortunately, the Channel and the Emrakul. It's a neat combo. You don't get to see it much, and there's a good reason behind that. It's just not that good. Kozilek's Command is an all-star, though. I really underestimated this card, and that's not something that's going to happen again. I'm going to definitely look back and try to build a more focused deck around K-Command. If I have time, maybe I'll get that done for this Wednesday's coming Romancing the Stones monthly tournament. But it'll probably end up just be this list, maybe without the Channel and the Emrakul. And maybe a couple more Reality Smashers can make the list. Thanks again for watching the video. If you like this, check back later this week. We're going to have some vintage gameplay from the monthly Romancing the Stones event. And as always, stay scrappy.